What's everybody? Good Monday morning to you. I am Phillip Jordan, and this is the Phillip Jordan Show. You're wondering, what am I doing coming into your feed on a Monday morning? I thought you were only once a week. Well, here's what we're going to do here on the show. Moving forward, thinking about doing, we'll see how it goes. Uh, my first podcast I ever did was called Sports Talk with Phillip Jordan. Mondays were solo. I come on 25, 30 minutes, just kind of get some thoughts. It was kind of like a weekend's observation type thing. May call it that. Can't call it Monday morning quarterbacking because there's some other sites that use that. So maybe that, but basically what it is, weekend observations, some stuff over the weekend that I saw that I want to talk about here on the show. So, anyways, we will do that today. The layout is this. I'm going to give my college football playoff championship game prediction between TCU and Georgia. Did do that on last week's show because I'm doing that here today. Also, talk about some college football news. Spencer Sanders and Bobby Petrino. We'll talk about that for a little bit. As I've been telling you guys, there will be some NFL content here on the show with it being playoffs coming upon us, which the NFL regular season is now over. I am recording this not too long after the Packers lost to the Lions. So, I'm hurting right now. Everybody knows me out there. I'm a Packers fan, so I'm hurting. But we'll talk about what I saw from that game and just kind of a look at the NFL playoffs as well, and some hoops talk at the end as well. That's what you can expect on this edition of the Phillip Jordan Show. Remember, you check out the Phillip Jordan Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review. I will read it on a future edition of the show. You can also check out the show over on YouTube at the Phillip Jordan Show YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all notifications, and please leave a comment on any of the videos, and I'll read it on a future edition of the show. Remember, you can follow me on social media at PJordanSCC. Check out all my written work at Last Word on College Football. You can email me at sportstalkphilipjordan@gmail.com. All right, of course, so we're dropping this podcast on Monday morning. So tonight, you're checking this thing out on Monday when this aired, which I hate if you check the podcast out on Tuesday. Oh, well, maybe you can get some information you didn't know about me. But anyways, come till Monday, of course, and the college football playoff national championship game, TCU and Georgia. They're playing out in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium, the new palace there for the Rams and the Chargers out there in Los Angeles. So obviously, I did not pick this game last week because I was going to do this today here on Monday. And going into this game, look, Georgia's a 12.5-point favorite. The over/under is 63.5 coming to you, as I said, in the open, recording this late on Sunday night. And just looking at this game, how do you determine who you think is going to win here? Look, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Georgia should be the favorite. What they've done coming off a tough win against Ohio State, that felt like a national championship game between Georgia and Ohio State. That felt like the best two teams in the country playing. I know Michigan fans, you beat Ohio State, but when you just look at talent for talent, and then Ohio State really played up to their full potential in that game. They just made a few little mistakes toward the end, and Georgia was able to win. Really, I said this last week, it felt like Georgia was outplayed by Ohio State. Well, it did feel like TCU was the better team on that day against Michigan. I don't think Georgia for the whole game was the better team than Ohio State, but they came away with a victory. Stetson Bennett made the plays at the end to win the game. So what are the keys for TCU and Georgia? Stetson Bennett, he cannot make mistakes. He has to play more consistent. I'm not going to say play better. He played a really good football game in the semifinal against Ohio State. But consistency, because he played well early, and then middle part of the game, he struggled. And it really felt like at the end of the first half, that second down throw where he almost threw an interception, then Georgia just said, okay, we're going to sit on it. We're down a few points to Ohio State. We do not need to get an opportunity to go up by 2 scores, which is get out of here. And then Stetson Bennett really did not feel like he was in rhythm for much of that second half until the fourth quarter when they had to make a play, when they got down by 14, 38-24 in that game. And then he made the plays necessary, and they came away with the win. Hit Arian Smith on the big touchdown, and then, of course, the game-winning touchdown there as well in the game. But he's got to be – I think he needs to be consistent throughout. I think that's going to be key. And the line of scrimmage is going to be huge on both sides because going into the TCU Michigan game, yours truly over here when I made my pick on that game, I did not think TCU could match up physically with Michigan. Michigan had bulldozed through most teams all year. No one had been able to run the ball on them all season long. Now, TCU was able to run on Michigan for 263 yards with Kendre Miller and Amari DeMarcado. Now, Miller got hurt in that game, and it looks like, just from things, he's probably going to be a game-time decision in the national championship game, so it could be all on DeMarcado, which, of course, Max Duggan is a good runner as well. And C.J. Stroud had some success against Georgia running the ball, which was something we really did not see all year from C.J. Stroud. So if I'm TCU, I'm looking at, okay, Max Duggan is not as athletic as C.J. Stroud, but he's a very capable runner. We've seen him make plays with his legs all season long. So he maybe can help them out in that area too as well. And for TCU, it's going to be key. Even if you're struggling running ball, look, there's Jalen Carter at the middle, and he looked gassed at times against Ohio State. Can TCU kind of up the tempo? And if this is a 3-4 quarter game, maybe that once again happens with Georgia. And we're just playing a little over a week now, so not a lot of time to rest up and get ready for this one. So that's something maybe you could see there because, like I said, Max Duggan, he is a running quarterback. Then you could hit maybe Quentin Johnson over the top because the last two games it's been shown that you can throw on this Georgia team. They've given up 15 passing touchdowns all season, 7 in the last two games against LSU in the SEC championship game, against Ohio State in the Peach Bowl in the semifinal. LSU had 500 yards in the SEC championship game, and I remember we did the podcast with Jay Stevens and Palmer Thomas, but it was more on the video with Jay. A lot of Georgia fans saying, no, that's not going to happen. They were playing back on them. The game was over. It was 35-7, blah, 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 blah. And I was kind of like, well, just hold up. That game against LSU, Jaden Daniels, was very successful throwing the ball early. Pull him out because he was hurt. And then Nussmeier comes in and he lights you up too as well. So I'm just saying you need to hold up on that commentary, Georgia fans. And it was true. C.J. Stroud had a big game, 68% completion percentage, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns in that game. And also the running ability of him and what they was able to do with the receivers in that game. They could not guard Marvin Harrison Jr. early in the game until he got hurt. So when you look at Quentin Johnson for TCU, yes, he's not looked at as the caliber of what you saw at Ohio State, but he's a very good receiver, a receiver that will play on Sundays. So I will be curious to see, does Georgia have some of those things cleaned up? Now I'm going to say this as well, and if there's any TCU fans checking this out, checking this video out, or checking the podcast out, I'm going to say this, and you're probably not going to say, you outplayed Michigan, but Michigan gave up some opportunities too as well. That first possession where Michigan goes for the Philly special on 4th down, I still say kick the field goal, you go up 3-0. You get the momentum on that one. And the turnovers. Now, while Stetson Bennett and this Georgia team has been not prone, but they have at times this season got a little careless with the football, you can't rely on that, especially going against Georgia team. And they're going to have that buttoned up. And I'm just saying Michigan they put TCU in a lot of great opportunities. Now, TCU pounced on them. They took advantage of those opportunities. And that's why I say they were the better team, because better teams always take advantage of those situations. The bad teams do not. And TCU was better in that game against Michigan. I don't feel like Georgia is going to give you those opportunities. But I do feel like TCU will make some big plays here. But also, we saw Michigan score 39 points in the second half against TCU. There was a lot of times guys were getting beat downfield. They couldn't guard the receivers. I think this is going to be a big opportunity for A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, and also Arian Smith to make some big plays. Brock Bowers over the middle. I think that's going to be big too. I think Stetson Bennett is probably going to have even a better game against TCU than he did against Ohio State. And another key factor of this too as well, look, when you have a month to prepare, you can scheme guys open. You can figure some stuff out. Well, we're looking at this. This thing was played not this Saturday, but the previous. So you're looking at what? That was 10 days ago. So It's compressed. It's really like a more during the season. You play a team, the next week play somebody else. So you don't have that month to prepare to really dive into the film and figure out what you're going to do here. I mean, these are really two good coaching staffs, Sonny Dykes and what Kirby Smart does at Georgia. But I also think that's going to be a very key thing in here. So obviously, I would hope TCU was only focused on Michigan. You weren't going ahead watching Georgia film. I don't know, maybe they did, but I doubt that was the case. But that's another factor to me. This being just kind of like just a week, I think that favors Georgia. TCU can't draw up some stuff special because you just don't have the same amount of time preparing for this game as you did the last game. TCU's got some good players defense though. They really showed out against Michigan. They were able to get some pressure on J.J. McCarthy. D. Winters was big. He's good to get to the quarterback, putting pressure, and he also had to pick six. So Georgia's going to clean that up because they can make some plays. But I say all that. I think TCU does make some big plays in this game. I think they cause some tense moments. I believe this game gets into the middle of the third quarter, close to the fourth quarter, close. But I think at the end of the day, Georgia will pull away at the end of the third quarter, early into the fourth quarter. I think Georgia's going to win this game 41-28. So there's the cover, the 12.5. But I think this game is close for about three quarters, but then Georgia will pull away, do what they do, lean on you with their running game, their three-headed monster running back. I think Stetson Bennett will walk away with the MVP trophy. And if you're Georgia, you win back-to-back titles, in my opinion, you surpassed Alabama. You are the new standard of college football. So the Georgia Bulldogs, they're going to win them another national championship. All right, some stuff kind of we did see over the weekend. I saw on Twitter going around, and that is Spencer Sanders to an SEC West school. This is the Oklahoma State quarterback. He's put up really good numbers. He's quarterback in the last 4 years. Very experienced quarterback. Like I said, he's put up really good numbers for Oklahoma State. Of course, they didn't have the year they wanted this year, coming off a really good year the year prior with him at quarterback. But Auburn is in need of a quarterback, but Ole Miss seems to be in the running for Spencer Sanders with all the speculation online. Spencer Sanders, a guy over his career, he's thrown for 9,553 yards, 67 touchdowns, 40 interceptions. 2021, really good year there for him. There they got to the Big 12 championship game where they did lose to Baylor. Where he threw for 2,839 yards, 20 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. He was 62% completion percentage of a passer. Now, this past year, numbers dipped. He didn't play in all the games. 2,642 yards, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 58% completion percentage. Didn't run for many yards. He ran for more touchdowns, but not as many yards. He ran for 8 touchdowns this season as well. In his last game against Oklahoma, he threw for 381 yards, but 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions in a 13-28 loss. He threw the ball 67 times there. And I look at it. So you say Ole Miss and Auburn. Of course, Auburn. Look, and I am one. Y'all know I write about Auburn for Last Word on college football. But I will say Robbie Ashford's not. I don't think he's your solution in 2023 at quarterback. He did a good job. He played hard for Auburn. He made plays with his legs mostly. He was beat up because everything they asked him to do. He had a hurt arm. I mean, he was really just a guy that battled all year for Auburn. And like I said, played hard. And he's what they needed. And look, a tremendous job by Robbie Ashford. But I do think they need a little bit more. Now, Hugh Freeze is doing a really good job so far in the transfer portal and bringing an offensive lineman, which has been a weakness in the past two coaching staffs. Gus Malzahn toward the end in the 2 years, or I guess 1.5 years, with Brian Harsin. So there's that. But I do believe you need a quarterback. And I do believe in the Hugh Freeze offense, you won't be asking Spencer Sanders to throw the ball 67 times. Jarquez Hunter's back. They've got some other players there running back. They're going to run the ball at Auburn with Hugh Freeze. I truly believe that. But I also see an opportunity for Spencer Sanders. As I said, he showed the ability at Oklahoma State where he can be dangerous as a runner. That will be another part of his game that will work well. And if you look at Spencer Sanders, you look at a guy, I think he looks like a pro quarterback. He has ability. I don't think he's a starter. I think he's a guy that can be a backup quarterback in the National Football League. So we've seen Hugh Freeze turn quarterbacks into great players and get drafted. Look at Malik Willis, who started 2 games this year for the Tennessee Titans. So Auburn slam dunk. If you go there, you're going to be the starter. Now look at the Ole Miss deal. At first, you say, why? You have Jackson Dart there. But is Jackson Dart the answer at Ole Miss? I don't think he is. I think he held Ole Miss back this season. He's a really good quarterback for them when the running game is going. When he can just go off play action, or just when the defense is keying on the running game with Quinshawn Judkins, at Zach Evans, and all that cast of characters they have in the backfield, he's a good quarterback. But there's a couple times this year where the running game wasn't quite doing what Ole Miss wanted it to do, and he got asked to carry the load and to make big plays and kind of carry the burden of the offense on his shoulders, and he could not do that. Now, I also could see him coming back, being there, being the starter next season, and they could be successful with him if that running game's going. And look, he could develop and get better. This was his first full year as a starting quarterback in college football. He only played like a handful of games at USC, and then he transfers to Ole Miss. So he could develop and he could get better. He should get better with Lane Kiffin as his head coach. But at the same time, I could see Lane Kiffin like, this is a guy that's experienced. He 4-year starter there at Oklahoma State. Threw for 2,000 yards every single season. He was a quarterback there at Oklahoma State. And he's put up 67 touchdowns. There's the 40 interceptions, I think, is kind of bothersome. I had somebody tell me he could be the Bo Nix of the Big 12. Which, when you look at what you got, is he better? Is he better than Robbie Ashford? I say yes. Is he better than Jackson Dart? I say yes. Where would I go if I was Mr. Sanders here? That's a tough thing because Lane Kiffin has recent success in the SEC with quarterbacks. Look at Matt Corral, where he's going, and Jackson Dart wasn't horrible. But you pretty much know if you go to Auburn, you're going to be the starter if you're Spencer Sanders. You may get stuck in a quarterback competition with Jackson Dart. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see where Spencer Sanders goes. Yes, he can be a turnover machine, but he's also capable of being a really big-time player for you. And I really think a get like that, look, I'm going to speak from the Auburn side because, once again, that's the team I cover. If you can get a guy like Spencer Sanders in year one, that's big. And then you keep Robbie Ashford. And Robbie Ashford learns. He used to sit on the bench. You create a package for him. And then in 2024, you can roll with Robbie Ashford as your starting quarterback. As I told you guys on the top of the show, I'm coming to you right after getting done watching Packers and Lions on Sunday night. So, and people who know me know I'm a Packers fan. So this is very, very hard to swallow right now as I'm doing this, but we will remain professional here on the Phillip Jordan Show podcast. So the NFL playoffs are set in. I know a lot of people say, Phillip, you mostly only talk college football. That is true. That is true. But I've also been telling everybody for about a month now, when the NFL playoffs got here, we would talk about it. But first, I want to say this about the National Football League. Tremendous stuff all week. And really over the weekend with Damar Hamlin, which, of course, he's got the tube out. He's talking. He's FaceTiming teammates. He's posting on social media. The Bills on Sunday, opening kickoff for a run back for a touchdown. They had another one in there. Everybody honoring Damar Hamlin. Really a miracle. Obviously, and 100%, without a doubt, the power of prayer. This is a guy, look, let's be honest, he died. And the staff, the athletic staff, the medical staff there with the Bengals and Bills, they brought him back to life. And then what everybody's done, they're at the hospital in Cincinnati. And now he's an inspiration for a lot of people out there. And it's just awesome to see. And his charity, the money, I know last I saw it was over $5 million. He wanted just $2,500 for all this started, and just all the stuff we saw in the NFL. And of course, they had to make a decision canceling the Bills and the Bengals game, and so they're playing 16 games seasons. Everybody else plays 17. Winning percentage, and look, I think we're probably going to see a neutral side AFC Championship game. One of those two teams are going to play the Chiefs. I think that's going to happen. But just goes from a week of worry, concern, fear, and then now you end the week with hope. With everything on this, just amazing what is what is happening. Thank God, he put his hands on Damar in this situation. He is healing him, and it's great. It's great to see. It's great to see all that, and like I said, him post on Instagram, post on Twitter during games. Again, FaceTime teammates, the whole team and stuff. It's just just the emotion and the passion that come from the Buffalo Bills this weekend too in getting that victory. But the playoffs are set. But so I'm going to talk about the game that was just on tonight. Oh wow, where do I go with this? So the Packers lose 20-16. I was all excited. Like I said, guys, I'm a Packers fan. I do not hide from that one bit. And I was thinking, okay, they've won 4 in a row. They're at Lambeau Lions. And then the Seahawks won today, which for people out there, only college football fans don't know, with Seattle winning, it knocked the Lions out of the playoffs. So the Lions really had, other than pride in having a winning season, had nothing to play for. Packers win, they're in the playoffs. It was a win and end game for the Packers. For Lions, it was just a game to end the season. They could not go to the playoffs. And the Seahawks beat the Rams in overtime 16-13. 19-16 earlier on Sunday. And then look, the first half, and I was watching the first half with some friends, and I said, look, the Packers are playing better here. They're up 9-6. They should be winning by more than they are. And this is kind of, even during this Packers win streak where they were playing better, it was also one thing too, they were not good in the red zone. They were kicking a lot of field goals for a team that was trying to be impressive and maybe put some fear into the playoff teams. Get me a glass of water. They were struggling with that. And if you're going to be a top team, you need to be able to punch the ball into the end zone when you are in the red zone in that scoring opportunities. But constantly it was Mason Crosby coming out kicking field goals. So the Packers had to settle for 3 field goals. There, once again, the Lions had 2 as well. The Packers maybe had an opportunity to really put the game not away, but create some distance in the first half. Aaron Jones, the fumble, as they were moving the ball, under 2 minutes left. Lions got to keep the field goal, get 9-6. So then you come out in the second half and you force a 3 and out. You're moving the ball. You have to go with a Crosby field goal. It was a really long field goal. I believe it was 53 yards. Hit the upright. Last week hit the upright, bounced in. This time it bounces out. Doesn't go in. And then the Lions go on and hit a 43-yard pass to Khalif Raymond, Jared Goff to him. And then Jamal Williams, former Packer, scores his 17th touchdown of the season. The Packers did respond. I thought, okay, this is moment we're going to see MVP Rodgers show up. 45-yard pass to Christian Watson, and a 13-yard pass to Allen Lazard for a touchdown. So then the Packers up 16-13. Was going to hand the ball a couple times and just could not push the ball further where they could put the game away. Kind of had some vibes of last year's playoff game against the 49ers if I'm at the end of this game. And then Quay Walker, he had a massive mess up, unsportsmanlike penalty. There was injury. DeAndre Swift, running back for the Lions, was on the ground. The training staff's coming in. He pushes one of them, which that's a 15-yard penalty, which it puts the Lions inside the 5, and then he's thrown out of game. One of the better players for the Packers. The second time this year's happened. Rookie player, young players making bad decisions to hurt the Packers team, and then they were able to get in the end zone. Then Aaron Rodgers on the next possession, he just didn't have it. On a 3rd and 10, he had intercepted late by Kirby Joseph, who picked him off 3 times this year. He got him twice in the previous matchup this season. Alex Anzalone, the linebacker for the Lions, blitz at the middle. He was on block, which forced Rodgers to probably throw a pass he didn't want to throw. Can't remember receiver. There was a receiver coming over the middle. It looked like he was breaking. If Rodgers could have held it a little bit longer, if the blocking was better up front, He maybe could hit him and wouldn't have to throw a deep shot to Christian Watson, but it was intercepted, and then the Lions run the clock out. They win the game 20-16. Rodgers was 17-27 for 205 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception in the game. And they get Seattle into the playoffs as the 7th seed of the NFL playoffs starting this weekend. So I want to say this too, just as a Packers fan and just someone that covers this league. Aaron Rodgers is 39 years old, and who knows what's going to happen. One of the Lions players asked after the game, "Can I get swap, do a jersey swap, and all that stuff?" And Rodgers said, "I think I'm going to hold on to this one." So I feel like, and this is completely reacting to something we just saw. I think that was the last time Aaron Rodgers is going to wear a Green Bay Packer uniform. Now, I'm not saying in his career. I could very well see him playing maybe a year or two with someone else, but I think might be the time where the Packers make a decision or need to make a decision and move on from Aaron Rodgers. Not that he's still not good. He's still a good quarterback. He put them in position to win this year. He was one of the reasons why they was able to make this run. But also, I feel like it may be time to start the Jordan Love era. And he showed some things early in the year when he had to come in. Rodgers got hurt against Philadelphia. Everything you hear coming out of Packers practices, even Aaron Rodgers himself has said that Jordan Love has improved, and it's just time. The Packers need to go young. They've got the running backs in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They've got receivers in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Maybe you can get Alan Lazard to come back. Maybe need to shore up some stuff on the offensive line. Get better at defensive tackle or middle linebacker, because the rush defense at times this year was pretty bad. Teams were able to run at the middle of the Packers, so that will be something there. And look, it was one of the things too. It's kind of poetic justice in a way. Brett Favre's last pass at Lambeau Field, his final game was an interception, and Aaron Rodgers' final game this season could be his final time as a Green Bay Packer at Lambeau Field. His last pass was an interception. So, and look, they got to one Super Bowl, but there's a lot of missteps, a lot of games where Rodgers didn't play great in the playoffs, because I think sometimes he gets too careful with the ball. He didn't there. He tried to make a play. He got intercepted, and the defense could get the ball back to the team. But I do believe, though, it is time for the Packers to move on, to move forward, and part ways with Aaron Rodgers. He's got another year on his contract. He is due to be back, and we'll see. He talked about, he's going to let the emotion of this loss go away and make his decision. Won't hold the Packers hostage. So we'll see what's that's going to go forward. But looking at the playoffs this week, now I'm not about to make any picks or predictions here. And actually, what we're going to do on Thursday's pod, which will be guest driven on Thursday, Bill Bender from the Sporting News will join me as he does every year. After the national championship game, we will look back at it, look ahead to the college football offseason. And Matt Barbato, a good friend from the Betting Pros and Fantasy Pros, he'll be joining me. We will preview the NFL playoffs. Once again, I'm saying this a lot. I've said this a lot last month. We will be talking about playoff games on this show when it happens. So, college football fans, I know that you'll still be getting some college football stuff on here, doing both, and we'll transition to college basketball soon too as well. But just let y'all guys know. But Matt will be joining me also on Thursday's podcast to look at the wild card round of the NFL playoffs and just the matchups. Where's everybody seated here in the playoffs? I had it here. So on Super Wild Card weekend, let's look at the NFC. So the 2 seed ended up being the 49ers. They will host the Seattle Seahawks. That will be Saturday at 4:30 Eastern on Fox. The Minnesota Vikings fell to the 3. They will play the Giants. That will be a 4:40 Eastern matchup on Fox on Sunday. A couple weeks ago, these two teams had a really good game. Came down to the wire. The Vikings had to kick a field goal at the end. And the 4-5 matchup in the NFC will be the Dallas Cowboys traveling to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which Dallas Cowboys have lost their last 8 road playoff games. So that will be Monday Night Football. That should be a lot of fun on that one. Now over in the AFC, the 4-5 matchup, the AFC South champion Jacksonville Jaguars. Congratulations to the Jaguars. Congratulations to friend of the program, Brandon Eisman. His favorite pro football teams in the playoffs. I pick him all the time about they don't win. But this is one of the rare times where his team is in the playoffs and mine is not. But they will be playing the Chargers. That should be a fun one in prime time, NBC, 7:15 on Saturday night. Then on Sunday in the AFC, in the 2-7 matchup, the Buffalo Bills will host the Miami Dolphins, 12 o'clock CBS Central Time there. Interesting. We'll have to see. Will Tua play? Okay. And then you'll have in the 3-6 matchup, these two teams just played today on Sunday. The Bengals will host the Ravens. Question mark quarterback Lamar Jackson on that one. So that's your little NFL wild card weekend look ahead, which, like I said, we'll preview those games on Thursday with Matt Barbato. All right, we're going to close out this show. Talk about college basketball. As I said, it's like a weekend observation thing, and I did watch a little college basketball on Saturday before the NFL games did come on, football games. And as we are now getting out of football season, there will be more basketball content. College basketball, don't really watch the NBA anymore. So college basketball, and that's the thing doing this Monday show, because as we get into the thick of things, come on here on Mondays, kind of give my thoughts on the weekend in college basketball. I'm in the South. I'm in the SEC country down here. A lot of SEC hoops, but we'll kind of look at what all is going on in basketball. And I'll tell you what, I was super impressed by Alabama on Saturday. This was, like I said, we're full on football when football season is going on. So I haven't watched a whole lot of Alabama. I've watched parts of games, and I could tell they're good. I've been super impressed by Brandon Miller. This kid, 6'9", he does remind you of Kevin Durant with the way he plays. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Kevin Durant. Could be. We'll see. But he has the skill set. Only thing is, he does the release point of the ball is low. I wish it was higher up, a higher release point. I think the NBA, he could have some issues getting his shot blocked. But that's something he could work on as just a freshman. The beat Kentucky 78-52, and you almost forgot Oscar Tshiebwe played on Kentucky, because there was points in the games where he was just a liability for Kentucky. And Calipari just had to take him out of the game. This was last year's Player of the Year. He was 1 for 7, 4 points and 6 rebounds. And then the other big there, Jacob Toppin, was 1 of 10, 3 points and 6 rebounds. Alabama has a lot of length. Charles Bediako, 7-foot center there. Oscar Tshiebwe could not, or anybody coming into the lane, they just had issues inside the paint, around the basket. They just could not get anything easy with him sitting there. And Alabama's guard, Mark Sears, transferred from Ohio. He has 16 points. They had issues stopping him. They could not stop the guard play of Alabama, and they couldn't really penetrate inside with those bigs for Alabama as well. Kentucky's got some issues offensively. They don't look great defensively. They look like they have issues as well, which we've seen this with Kentucky before. Then they straighten things out in late February as we get into March. So we'll see. We'll see. I think Kentucky can still be a tournament team without a doubt. But this Alabama team's more than a tournament team. This team, I think, is the best team in the SEC. And I also believe they are a team that can make a run at the Final Four, which you don't know when we get there, just the craziness that is March Madness, the NCAA tournament. But the way they're playing right now, they're really good. They play Arkansas this coming up Wednesday night, who lost to Auburn on Saturday night. And I did watch a little bit of that one, where Auburn won 72-59. Auburn goes 12-3. Of course, Auburn's issue. Look, I'll say this about Auburn: they're a solid basketball team. They're not great. They're not bad, but they're not what they were last year. Without Jabari, without Walker Kessler, they do not have superstars on this team like they did last year. But all the role players that are good players are there, and Bruce Pearl's going to coach them well. They're not going to. Very rarely will Bruce Pearl get out coached. So they're a good team. I think this team can make the tournament. Probably knocked out first weekend, but I think this is a tournament team. Wendell Green had a big game here. Alan Flanagan. Auburn shot well here, and that's big. Defensively, they're always going to play hard. They forced 14 turnovers on Arkansas. Their biggest lead was by 15. Arkansas never led at any point in the game. Auburn shot 44%, 7-21 from three. That's good for Auburn. If they could stay around there, they should be good. If they score 70 points in games, they should win most of the games they play. And then Arkansas was 34%. They were 2 of 16 for three. That was key as well. If Auburn just hit enough threes and defend it well, and then they're forcing turnovers, and they were at home, the environment, that was big for them there at home. They're hard to beat there. Now, they will be going on the road at Ole Miss, who's 8-7 on Tuesday. So we'll see if Auburn can carry that on the road. But good win for Auburn, big win for Alabama. We'll have more of these basketball breakdowns, as I said, as we are now transitioning out of football. May have some on Thursdays where we get some of these matchups going on throughout the week. Well, anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this edition of the Phillip Jordan Show. Going solo. I used to do this a lot more, really guest-driven on the show, but we will be breaking stuff down and doing different stuff on Mondays, dropping these podcasts, just going over what I saw over the weekend. And anyways, if you're watching this, listening to this, please leave a comment, leave a review, leave a comment, whatever. Please on YouTube. That's what we're pushing right now. Please leave a comment on YouTube. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Like I said, be back on Thursday with Bill Bender and Matt Barbado. We'll be back to being guest-driven on that day here on the show. Remember, you can follow me on social media at PJordanSEC. Podcasts are available on all your favorite podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review. I will read it on a future edition of the show. If you leave 4 stars, you're just a straight-up hater. You can check the show out over on the Phillip Jordan Show YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all notifications, and please leave a comment on the video, and I'll read it on a future edition of the show. Please check out all my written work over at Last Word on College Football. We should have, as soon as the game's over, a national championship game recap article would be up. So check that out over there. Great writers over there. And remember, you can always email me at sportstalkphillipjordan@gmail.com. Everybody enjoys the national championship game, and I will be back to talk to you guys on Thursday morning with Bill Bender and Matt Barbado. Everybody has a great week. Let kindness be your compass. And you've been listening and watching the Phillip Jordan Show.